Winter, 1887. The frozen train station door slammed open, and a man stepped through the blizzard, tall, snow-covered eyes locked on the woman dying in the corner. 3 days you've been here. Silas Boone's voice was rough. 3 days waiting for death in my territory. Eliza couldn't speak, couldn't move. The richest cattle owner in the West crouched before her, studying her face like he was reading a book. You're the medical woman from Boston, the one they destroyed. How did he know? His hand reached toward her frozen fingers. I need someone who can save lives. You need a reason to stay alive. So here's the deal. You work for me. You survive. You refuse, you die here. His grip tightened. Choose now. Something in his eyes said this wasn't charity. It was a test, and everything depended on her answer. Before we begin, please subscribe to our channel and stay with me until the very end of this story. Comment below with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far Eliza's journey travels across the world. The man didn't wait for her answer. He crouched down eye level with her, and Eliza saw something she hadn't seen in months, someone looking at her instead of through her. Can you stand? He asked. She tried. Her legs buckled. He caught her weight without flinching, steadied her, but didn't carry her. Try again. I can't. You can. Your legs still work. Your mind's just told them to quit. His grip was firm, but not controlling. Now stand. Eliza's breath came in shallow gasps. She pushed against his arm, forced herself upright. Her knees shook violently, but held. Good. He released her, but stayed close. Name's Silas Boone. I own the cattle operation 10 miles north. You're the medical woman from Boston. Her throat tightened. How did you... Station master mentioned you 3 days ago. Said you were waiting for someone who wasn't coming. His eyes never left hers. Were you... The truth sat like stones in her chest. No. Then why are you still here? Because I have nowhere else to go. Because they destroyed me. Because I'm not sure I deserve to survive what they did. She said none of it. Just looked at him. Silas straightened. I need someone who knows medicine. Ranch hands get hurt. Horses kick. Cattle gore. Men do stupid things and bleed for it. Town doctors 40 miles away and drunk half the time. He paused. You work. You earn. You stay alive. That's the deal. I'm not licensed to. I don't care about licenses. Can you stop bleeding set bones, keep a man breathing when his body wants to quit? Eliza's hands trembled, not from cold anymore. Yes. Then that's all I need to know. He turned toward the door. Wagons outside. You coming or staying? She stared at the bench where she'd spent 3 nights waiting for the cold to make the decision for her. Every muscle screamed at her to sit back down, to let someone else carry the weight. But something in Silas's voice, the way he'd said, you stay alive like it was a command, not a hope, made her move. She followed him into the snow. Chick. The ranch spread across the valley like something from another world. Eliza had seen wealth in Boston marble mansions, imported carriages, servants in pristine uniforms. This was different, vast, raw, purposeful. Silas helped her down from the wagon without ceremony. A man approached, tall, weathered, suspicious eyes locked on her. This is Marcus, my foreman, Silas said. Marcus, this is Miss Rowan. She'll be handling medical situations. Marcus's jaw tightened. A woman. That a problem? Silas's tone didn't change, but something in it made Marcus step back. No, sir. Just... We've never had... Then today's a first. Silas gestured toward a small cabin near the main house. She'll take the east cabin. Get it heated. Get her supplies she needs. Marcus hesitated. Supplies? Medical supplies. Bandages. Instruments. Whatever she asks for. Silas finally looked at Eliza. Make a list. Marcus will ride to town tomorrow. Eliza's voice came out steadier than she expected. I'll need clean water. Boiled. Always boiled. Soap, real soap, not lye. Cotton cloth for bandages. Needles. Thread. Carbolic acid if you can find it. Laudanum for pain. Whiskey for sterilization. Marcus blinked. Silas almost smiled. Write it down, Silas told him. Then to Eliza. Anything else? A workspace, good light, clean surfaces. And people need to understand if they want my help, they follow my rules. No dirt, no arguing, no bleeding all over everything before they come to me. This time Silas did smile. Small, brief, but real. Hear that, Marcus, no bleeding all over everything. Marcus looked between them like he'd witnessed something impossible. Yes, sir. Bon. The cabin was small but solid. Someone had already started a fire. Eliza stood in the center of the room, feeling the warmth seep into her bones for the first time in days. The door opened. A woman entered, older, gray-haired, carrying blankets and a basket. I'm Ruth. I run the kitchen and keep this place from falling apart completely. She set the basket down. Silas said you'd need food. Eliza stared at the bread, cheese, dried meat. Her stomach cramped with sudden hunger. Eat slowly, Ruth said, reading her face. Your body's forgotten how. Thank you. Ruth studied her with sharp, knowing eyes. You ran from something. It wasn't a question. Eliza met her gaze. Yes. Something bad enough you'd rather freeze than face it. Yes. Ruth nodded. Well, you're here now. That's what matters. She moved toward the door, paused. Fair warning, the men won't make this easy. They've never answered to a woman before. Some will test you. Some will dismiss you. And some... She looked back. Some will wait for you to fail, just so they can say they knew all along. I'm used to that. I'm sure you are. Ruth's expression softened slightly. But here's the difference. Silas doesn't bring people here to watch them fail. He brought you here because he thinks you can do this. Don't prove him wrong. The test came the next morning. Eliza woke to pounding on her door. She opened it to find Marcus' face grim. We've got a situation. She grabbed her coat. Where? South pasture. Horse threw a rider. He's conscious, but his arms bent wrong. They rode fast. Eliza's body protested every jolt, but she didn't slow down. When they reached the pasture, a crowd had gathered around a young man, couldn't be more than 19, sitting in the dirt, clutching his arm. His face was white with pain. Eliza dismounted, pushed through the circle of men. They parted reluctantly. What's your name? She asked the injured man. Tom. His voice shook. Tom Fletcher. Tom, I'm going to look at your arm. It's going to hurt. Can you handle that? He nodded, trying to be brave. She knelt beside him, gently moved his hand away. The arm was badly broken, radius and ulna both displaced. She could see the angle even through his shirt. I need to set this, she said quietly. Now, before the swelling gets worse. You, one of the men, older, thick-necked, hostile, stepped forward. You don't know what you're doing. Eliza didn't look at him, kept her focus on Tom. Do you want to ride 40 miles on a broken arm to see the town drunk, or do you want me to fix it here? Tom's eyes darted between her and the hostile man. I don't know. His name's Cooper, Marcus said quietly. He's been here longest. Thinks that means something. Cooper sneered. It means I know when someone's playing pretend. Women don't set bones. Eliza stood slowly, turned to face him. You're right. Women don't set bones. People who know what they're doing set bones. I've set 43 fractures. How many have you set? Silence. That's what I thought. She looked back at Tom. Your choice. But make it fast. Every minute we wait makes this harder. Tom stared at his arm, then at her face. Whatever he saw there made his decision. Do it. Eliza knelt again. Marcus, I need 3 men, strong ones. They'll hold him steady. Marcus gestured. 3 ranch hands moved forward without hesitation. 2 on his shoulders, Eliza directed. 1 on his hips. When I pull, he's going to fight. Don't let him move. She looked at Tom. This is going to be the worst pain you've ever felt. For about 10 seconds. Then it'll be over. Do 10 seconds? He nodded, teeth already clenched. Count with me, out loud. It'll help. She positioned her hands on his forearm. Ready. Ready. 1. She pulled. Hard. Steady. Exactly the right angle. Tom screamed. The men held him. Eliza felt the bones slip back into alignment with a sickening click that made half the crowd turn away. 2, 3, 4. She kept counting as she worked, feeling for the proper position. 5, 6. Almost there. 7, 8. The bones seated properly. She could feel it. 9, 10. Done. She released him. Tom collapsed back, gasping, tears streaming down his face. Worst part's over, Eliza said gently. She was already binding the splint wood cloth tight, but not too tight. This stays on for 6 weeks minimum. You keep it dry, you keep it clean. You don't use it. Understand? Tom nodded weakly. If it swells, if it turns colors, if you get fever, you come find me immediately. Not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient. Immediately. Yes, ma'am. She finished the binding, sat back. The crowd was dead silent. Even Cooper had nothing to say. Marcus helped Tom to his feet. The young man swayed but steadied. Thank you, he whispered. Eliza stood, wiped her hands on her skirt. Don't thank me yet. Thank me in 6 weeks, when you can use that arm again. She walked back to her cabin alone. Her hands were shaking now, delayed reaction to the adrenaline. She'd done it. First test. First proof. But she knew Cooper's type. This wasn't over. The door to her cabin was open. She tensed, then saw Silas inside examining the workspace Marcus had set up. Heard it went well, he said without turning around. Heard or saw, both. He faced her. You made an enemy. Cooper's been waiting to hate me since I arrived. True, but now he's got a reason. You embarrassed him in front of the men. Eliza lifted her chin. He embarrassed himself. I just happened to be there. Something flickered in Silas's expression. Approval, maybe. Or recognition. Fair enough. He moved toward the door. Ruth's bringing dinner. You should eat. Mr. Boone. He paused. Why did you really bring me here? The question burst out before she could stop it. You don't know me. You don't know what I did, what I'm running from. Silas looked at her for a long moment. 3 days in a frozen station. Most people would have left after 1, walked into the snow or begged anyone for help. His voice was quiet but certain. You did neither. That tells me everything I need to know. It tells you I'm stubborn. It tells me you're a survivor, and survivors don't quit when things get hard. They get harder. He opened the door. That's what I need here. He left. Eliza stood in the empty cabin, his words echoing. They get harder. Yes, they did. No. 2 weeks passed. Eliza treated a gash from a barbed wire fence, a badly sprained ankle, a tooth infection so severe the man couldn't eat. Each time the skepticism diminished slightly. Each time she proved herself again. But Cooper watched. Waited. The confrontation came on a Friday night. Eliza was restocking supplies in her cabin when she heard shouting from the bunkhouse. She grabbed her bag and ran. Inside, chaos. 2 men were holding Cooper back from a third man, younger, bloodied, clutching his side. Blood seeped through his fingers. What happened? Eliza demanded. Knife fight, Marcus said grimly. Cooper started it. Said Paulson cheated at cards. I didn't, Paulson gasped, then groaned. More blood. Eliza pushed past the crowd. Move, everyone back. Now. They hesitated. She didn't. She grabbed Paulson, helped him to the table, ripped his shirt open. Deep laceration across his ribs. Bleeding badly, but probably not fatal. Probably. Pressure, she ordered. Someone give me cloth. Clean cloth. One of the men handed her a bandana. She pressed it against the wound. Hold this. Tight. Don't let go. Paulson's hand replaced hers. His breathing was rapid, shallow. Boiled water. Whiskey. My surgical kit from the cabin. Move. Her voice cut through the shock. Men scattered. Cooper laughed. Ugly sound. You can't fix that. He needs a real doctor. Eliza didn't look at him. Kept her focus on Paulson's wound. He'll be dead before a real doctor gets here. So unless you want murder added to assault, shut up and get out. You can't order me. She just did. Silas's voice from the doorway. Absolute. Final. And you'll follow that order, or you'll pack your things and be off this ranch before sunrise. Cooper's face flushed red, but he backed down, walked out. Silas approached the table. What do you need? Space, light, and everyone quiet. Eliza looked up at him. This is going to take time. Take what you need. The supplies arrived. Eliza worked methodically, cleaned the wound, examined the depth felt along the ribs for fractures. None. Lucky. The blade had sliced muscle but missed anything vital. But the bleeding wasn't stopping properly. She threaded a needle. Her hands didn't shake. Not anymore. Paulson, I need to stitch this. You're going to feel every one. Can't give you enough laudanum to knock you out. Need you breathing steady. Do what you have to, she began. Each stitch precise, each one closing the wound layer by layer. Paulson's breathing hitched with pain, but he didn't scream, didn't move. The men watched in silence. Even Marcus looked pale. 23 stitches. When Eliza tied off the last one, her shirt was soaked with sweat despite the cold. Done. She bandaged the wound carefully. You'll stay in bed for 3 days. No moving, no working. You eat, you sleep, you heal. Understood? Paulson nodded weakly. If infection sets in, this all meant nothing. So you follow every instruction I give you. Every single one. Yes, ma'am. Eliza stepped back, finally allowed herself to breathe. The room swam slightly. She steadied herself against the table. Silas appeared beside her. You need to sit down. I'm fine. Sit down anyway. She sat. Realized her legs were shaking. Adrenaline crash. Silas handed her a cup. Water. She drank. That was... Marcus stopped. I've never seen anything like that. Eliza looked at Paulson. He's not out of danger yet. Infection fever, internal bleeding, we can't see any of those could still kill him. Next 3 days are critical. But you think he'll make it? She met Marcus's eyes. I think he's got a better chance than he did 10 minutes ago. Silas helped her stand. Come on. I'll walk you back. Yite. Outside, the night air was sharp and clean. Eliza breathed it in, let it clear her head. Cooper won't let this go, she said quietly. I know. He'll find another way to undermine me, to prove I don't belong here. Silas stopped walking, turned to face her. Do you belong here? The question hit harder than she expected. I don't know. I don't know where I belong anymore. That's not what I asked. His eyes were intent. Do you belong here on this ranch, doing this work? Eliza looked back at the bunkhouse. Thought about Tom's broken arm healing straight. About the tooth infection that would have killed a man if left untreated. About Paulson alive because she'd been fast enough and skilled enough and stubborn enough to not give up. Yes, she said. Yes, I belong here. Silas nodded once. Then that's all that matters. Everything else is just noise. They reached her cabin. He waited until she was inside door closed before walking away. Eliza sat on her bed, still trembling slightly. But underneath the exhaustion, underneath the fear and uncertainty, something else was growing. Purpose, agency, worth. For the first time since Boston, she felt like herself again. And she wasn't going to let anyone, not Cooper, not doubt, not fear, take that away. But purpose didn't pay for survival and worth didn't erase the past. The next morning, Eliza woke to find an envelope slipped under her door. Inside cash, more than she'd ever seen in one place. A note in Silas's handwriting, your wages, first month, you earned it. Her hands shook holding the money. In Boston, they'd taken everything, her reputation, her future. Dr. Hammond had made sure of that. One rejection. One moment of saying no to a powerful man who thought her body came with her job and everything she'd worked for had vanished. She told herself she deserved it. That she should have been smarter. Should have known better than to believe competence could protect her. But here was proof she'd been wrong. Someone knocked. She opened the door to find Ruth with breakfast and a grim expression. "Paulson's fevered," Ruth said without preamble. "Started an hour ago." Eliza grabbed her bag and ran. Paulson's forehead was burning. His breathing came too fast, too shallow. The men around his bed looked terrified. "Everyone out," Eliza ordered. "Except Marcus. I need him." They obeyed instantly this time. No questions, no doubt. She unwrapped the bandage carefully. The wound looked clean. No pus, no red streaks radiating outward. But the fever was real and climbing. "Internal bleeding?" Marcus asked quietly. "No, his color's good. Pulse is strong." She pressed gently around the wound. Paulson winced, but didn't cry out. Something else. She closed her eyes, thought back to every infection she'd ever seen, every fever, every complication. Then she remembered the knife. Cooper's knife. Where had it been before it cut Paulson? Marcus, find that knife. Now. He left without questioning. Returned 5 minutes later with a blade still stained with blood and something else. Rust. Dirt. God knew what. "He stabbed him with this." Eliza's voice came out cold. "Found it in Cooper's bunk. He uses it for everything. Cutting rope, skinning rabbits. Never cleans it." Infection. Not from her stitching. From the blade itself. "I need to reopen the wound," she said. "Clean it properly. It's the only way." Marcus went pale. "He barely survived the first time. And he won't survive this if I don't act." She looked at Paulson's flushed face. "Get me hot water, carbolic acid, fresh bandages, and get Silas. He needs to know what's happening." Silas arrived as she was preparing. He took one look at Paulson and understood. "How bad?" "Bad enough. I'm considering something that could kill him." Eliza met his eyes. "But doing nothing will definitely kill him. What do you need from me?" "Hold him down. This is going to hurt worse than the first time." Silas moved to the head of the bed without hesitation. Positioned himself to restrain Paulson's shoulders. "Do it." Eliza cut the stitches she'd so carefully placed the night before. Paulson screamed. Silas held firm. She opened the wound, irrigated it with carbolic solution. Paulson's body arched with agony. She worked faster, searching for the source of infection. There, a tiny fragment of rust embedded deep in the muscle. She extracted it with forceps, flushed the wound again, inspected every millimeter. "Clean?" she finally said. "It's clean now." She re-stitched. Paulson had passed out from pain, which was a mercy. When she finished, his fever was already starting to break. "He'll live?" Silas asked. "He'll live." Silas released his grip slowly, looked at his hands. They were shaking, just slightly, just enough to be human. "You should have seen what needed to be done," Eliza said quietly. "Cooper tried to kill him. That blade was filthy on purpose." "I know." "And..." Silas's jaw tightened. "Cooper's gone. Told him last night he had until sunrise. Watched him ride out myself. He'll come back. Men like him always do. Let him try." Something in Silas's voice made it clear that wouldn't end well for Cooper. 3 days later, Paulson was sitting up and eating. The crisis had passed. Word spread through the ranch faster than wildfire she'd saved him twice. Even the doubters had nothing left to say. But Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Something worse than Cooper's knife. She was right. The letter arrived on a Monday. Marcus brought it to her cabin, face tight with concern. Mail rider said this came from Boston. Marked urgent. Eliza stared at the envelope, recognized the handwriting. Dr. Cornelius Hammond, the man who'd destroyed her. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "Miss Rowan, your disappearance has not gone unnoticed. nor has your continued practice of medicine in territories where you have no legal standing. I have been made aware of your current location and activities. You will cease all medical practice immediately. You will return to Boston to face formal charges of fraud and malpractice. You will submit yourself to the proper authorities. Should you refuse, I will personally ensure that your illegal activities are reported to every territorial court, every law enforcement office, and every medical board from here to California. You have 1 week to comply. Dr. Cornelius Hammond, Chief of Surgery, Massachusetts General Hospital. The paper slipped from her fingers. He'd found her. Of course he had. She'd been naive to think she could just disappear. "What does it say?" Marcus asked. "It says I'm finished." She didn't tell Silas, didn't tell anyone. Just spent the next 2 days treating patients and pretending everything was fine while her mind raced through impossible options. Run again. Keep running until there was nowhere left to go. Or stop. Face Hammond. Let him destroy what little she'd rebuilt. The choice felt like drowning versus burning. Ruth found her on the 3rd day, sitting alone in the cabin after sunset. "You look like someone died," Ruth said. "Not yet." Eliza's voice came out hollow. Ruth sat down uninvited. "I've known Silas 15 years. Watched him build this ranch from nothing. You know what I learned watching him? What? Running never works. Whatever you're fleeing just catches up meaner." Ruth's eyes were sharp. "So what's chasing you?" Eliza looked at this woman who'd shown her nothing but straightforward kindness. Made a decision. She told her everything. Boston, Dr. Hammond, the assault she'd fought off, the lies he'd told to cover his own crime. The trial that wasn't really a trial. The verdict that destroyed her career before she'd properly begun it. Ruth listened without interrupting. When Eliza finished, she nodded once. "You tell Silas yet?" "No." "Why not?" "Because when he finds out what I really am, what I'm accused of, he'll send me away. And I can't." Her voice cracked. "I can't lose this. Not again." Ruth stood. "You're wrong about him, but that's something you'll need to learn yourself." She moved toward the door. "One piece of advice, though, secrets don't keep. Not out here. Better he hears it from you than from whoever else is coming." She left. Eliza sat in the dark, knowing Ruth was right, but unable to make herself move. The decision was taken from her the next morning. 2 men rode up to the ranch official-looking with territorial marshal badges and faces that said they'd done this too many times before. Eliza was in the bunkhouse checking on Tom's arm when Marcus burst in. "Marshal's here, asking for you." Her stomach dropped. "What do they want?" "Didn't say, but they've got papers." She walked out to meet them, heart hammering. Silas was already there, standing between the marshals and her cabin like a wall. The older marshal tipped his hat. "Miss Eliza Rowan." "Yes." "I'm Marshal Crenshaw. This is Deputy Hayes. We've received a formal complaint regarding your medical activities in this territory." Silas's voice cut in. "From who?" Crenshaw pulled out a document. "Dr. Cornelius Hammond of Massachusetts General Hospital. Claims Miss Rowan is practicing medicine without proper license or authority. Claims she's a fraud who's endangered lives through incompetent care." "That's a lie," Marcus said from behind her. "Is it?" Crenshaw looked at Eliza. "You got a medical license, miss." "I was trained at Massachusetts General Hospital. I worked under Dr. Hammond himself for 3 years. I know medicine better than most licensed physicians in this territory." "That's not what I asked. You got a license?" The silence was damning. "No," Eliza finally said. "I don't." Hayes spoke for the first time. "Then technically, ma'am, you are practicing illegally. Technically, Deputy, half the medical care in this territory is illegal by those standards." Silas's voice was ice. "We don't have enough doctors. People die waiting for help that never comes. She's saved lives here, multiple lives. That count for anything. Doesn't change the law, Mr. Boone." "Then the law's the problem," Crenshaw sighed. Look, we're not here to arrest anyone, just to deliver official notice. One needs to cease all medical practice pending a formal hearing. She'll be notified when that hearing is scheduled. And if she doesn't cease, Silas asked quietly, then we come back with warrants instead of warnings. The marshals left. Eliza stood frozen, waiting for Silas to look at her with betrayal, with disgust, with the same dismissal she'd seen in Boston. Instead, he turned to Marcus. Get the men together, all of them, main house, 20 minutes. What are you planning? Eliza asked. A conversation. He looked at her then. Really looked. You should have told me. I know. Why didn't you? Because I thought you'd send me away. Something crossed his face. Anger, maybe, or hurt. That what you think of me, I don't know what to think anymore. Everyone else did. Everyone else chose to believe him instead of me. Why would you be different? Silas stepped closer, close enough she could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. Because I've spent 6 weeks watching you work, watching you fight for people who started out doubting you, watching you prove yourself over and over without complaint. His voice dropped. You think I care more about what some doctor in Boston claims than what I've seen with my own eyes? Eliza's throat tightened. Hammond's powerful. He'll make this impossible for you, for the ranch. Let him try. Silas held her gaze. You in this or not? In what? The fight. Because this doesn't end with you walking away quiet. Hammond wants a war, he'll get one. But only if you're willing to stand and fight. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Running had kept her alive this long. But then she thought about Tom's arm healing straight, about Paulson breathing easy, about the small, fierce purpose she'd found in this frozen corner of nowhere. I'm in, she said. The meeting was standing room only. Every ranch hand, every worker, even Ruth from the kitchen. They filled the main house, curious and concerned. Silas stood at the center, Eliza beside him, feeling every eye on her. Most of you know what happened this morning, Silas began. Marshals came, brought accusations against Miss Rowan, said she's practicing medicine illegally. He paused. Said she's a fraud. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Here's what I know to be true, Silas continued. Tom Fletcher, stand up. Tom stood looking confused. Show them your arm. Tom raised his arm, moved it, flexed his fingers. Healed perfect. Doc in town said he'd never seen a break set so clean. Paulson, your turn. Paulson stood, lifted his shirt. The scar was clean, healing well. She saved my life, twice. One by one, Silas called forward every person Eliza had treated. Every wound healed, every fever broken, every life saved or improved. The evidence was overwhelming. So here's the question, Silas said when the last man sat down. Do we let some politician in Boston tell us who can and can't help us survive, or do we decide for ourselves? The law's the law, someone called out. The law says a woman can't vote either. Law says half of you couldn't own land 40 years ago. Law's been wrong before. Silas's voice filled the room. I'm not asking you to break laws. I'm asking you to stand up and say this one's unjust, to testify at her hearing, to show those marshals and that judge what real medicine looks like out here. Marcus stepped forward. I'll testify. Me too, Tom said. And me, Paulson added. More voices joined. A wave of support Eliza hadn't expected and didn't know how to process. Why? She finally asked. The question burst out raw. Why would you risk anything for me? An older ranch hand, grizzled, weathered someone she'd treated for infected blisters, spoke up. My daughter's back east. Wants to study medicine. University won't take her. Says women aren't suited for it. He looked at Eliza. You prove them wrong, maybe she's got a chance. A younger man raised his hand. My wife wants to help with births, midwifery. But there's no training, no support. You fight this fight, maybe things change. One after another, they spoke. Not just about her. About wives and daughters and sisters. About a future where women could do more than just survive. Eliza felt something break open in her chest. These men, these rough, hardened men were fighting for her. Not because they had to. Because they chose to. "Thank you," she whispered. Then louder, "Thank you." Sure. But gratitude didn't prepare her for what came next. That night, working late in her cabin, she heard horses. Multiple riders, coming fast. She opened the door to find 5 men dismounting. Strangers, hard faces. One of them held a torch. "Eliza Rowan," the leader asked. "Who's asking?" "Name's Garrett. Work for Dr. Hammond. He sent us to deliver a message." Silas appeared from the darkness. Must have heard the horses, too. "You're on private property. State your business or leave." Garrett smiled, ugly expression. "Business is with her. Hammond wants his message delivered personal-like." "Then deliver it and go." "Message is this." Garrett looked at Eliza. "Stop practicing. Leave the territory. Or Hammond'll make sure everyone knows what you really are." "What I really am." Eliza's voice stayed steady. "What's that?" "A whore who tried to sleep her way into a medical career. A fraud who killed a patient through negligence. A liar who destroyed a good man's reputation to cover her own failures." The words hit like fists. Eliza felt Silas tense beside her. "Those are lies," she said. "That what you'll tell the judge, the newspapers, the people who'll read all about you?" Garrett's smile widened. "Hammond's got witnesses, got documents, got testimony from a dozen physicians who'll swear you're incompetent. What you got? The truth." "Truth?" Garrett laughed. "Truth's whatever the man with money and power says it is. And Hammond's got both." He mounted his horse. "You got 3 days to clear out. After that, Hammond stops playing nice." They rode off. Eliza stood shaking with rage and fear and something darker. "It's not true," she said to Silas. "What he said. None of it." "I know." How can you know?" Silas turned to face her. "Because I've seen who you are. Seen what you do when no one's watching. Seen how you fight." He paused. "And because I know what powerful men do when someone threatens them. They lie. They destroy. They remake the truth until people forget it was ever different. This is going to get ugly. Uglier than it already is." "Probably. You could still send me away. Protect the ranch. Protect yourself." Silas's expression hardened. "You don't get it yet, do you?" "Get what?" "I don't want to protect myself from this fight. I want to be in it." He stepped closer. "Hammond thinks he can threaten you on my land. Send men to intimidate and harass. He's about to learn what happens when you push people who've got nothing left to lose. I have something to lose now. I have this, the work, the—" She stopped, unable to finish. "The what? The belonging. The purpose. You." She didn't say it. Couldn't. But something in his eyes said he heard it anyway. "Then we fight," he said quietly. "Together. And we make sure you don't lose it." The next morning brought another complication. A writer from town, with news the hearing had been scheduled. 1 week. Territorial Courthouse. Judge Morrison presiding. "Morrison's fair," Marcus said when they told him. "Strict but fair. If we present evidence won't matter if Hammond's bought the verdict." Eliza interrupted. "He can't buy Morrison. Judge has a reputation." "Every judge has a reputation until money talks louder." Silas had been quiet thinking. Now he spoke. "We need leverage. Something Hammond can't dismiss or buy off." "Like what?" Eliza asked. "Like witnesses who matter. People with standing. Respect." Silas looked at Marcus. "How many ranch owners in this territory respect what we do here?" "Most of them. Maybe 8 or 10 who'd listen." "Get them here. Tomorrow if possible. Tell them we need to discuss something that affects all of us." Marcus nodded and left. Eliza watched him go, then turned to Silas. "What are you planning? Building an army?" He met her eyes. "Hammond wants to make an example of you. We'll make an example of him instead." Show what happens when Eastern power tries to dictate Western survival. It was bold, dangerous, exactly the kind of thing that could backfire catastrophically. Eliza found herself smiling for the first time in days. Let's do it. But that night alone in her cabin, the fear crept back in. Hammond had resources she couldn't match, connections she couldn't counter. What if Silas's plan failed? What if they all testified and it meant nothing? What if she dragged everyone down with her? She was still awake when someone knocked. She opened the door to find Silas holding 2 cups of coffee. "Saw your light on," he said. "Figured you couldn't sleep either." She let him in. They sat in silence for a moment, drinking the bitter, strong coffee. "Tell me about him," Silas finally said. "Hammond, what really happened?" So she did. Told him everything she'd told Ruth and more. The assault, the accusations, the trial where her word meant nothing against his reputation, the systematic destruction of everything she'd worked for. Silas listened without interrupting. When she finished, his jaw was tight with anger. "You fought back?" he asked. "I tried. No one believed me." "I believe you." 3 words, simple, direct, and they meant everything. Eliza felt tears threaten for the first time since arriving. She fought them back. "Why? Why do you believe me when everyone else chose not to?" Silas was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was low. "Because 15 years ago I watched my sister lose everything to a man who did exactly what Hammond did to you. She tried to fight. No one listened. He stopped. She didn't survive it." The pain in his voice was old and deep. "I'm sorry," Eliza whispered. "I swore then I'd never let that happen again. Never stand by while powerful men destroyed good people for sport." He looked at her. "So that's why I believe you. And that's why we're going to win this fight. Not just for you. For every woman who never got to tell her truth." Eliza reached out, took his hand. He didn't pull away. They sat like that as the night deepened, 2 survivors holding on to something fragile and fierce and worth protecting. If you or someone you know is having a difficult time, free support is available. Find resources. Outside footsteps approached. They pulled apart quickly, but not quickly enough. Marcus appeared in the doorway, saw them, had the grace to look away. "Sorry to interrupt, but we've got company. John Mercer just rode in. Said he got your message and came straight over. Didn't want to wait till morning." Silas stood. "Mercer owns the spread 20 miles east. Biggest operation besides ours. If he's here, it means he's listening." Eliza followed them to the main house. Mercer was a tall man, weathered by decades of frontier life, with eyes that missed nothing. He looked at Eliza with frank curiosity. "So you're the one causing all this fuss," he said. "Didn't mean to cause anything, just tried to keep people alive." Mercer smiled slightly. "My foreman's nephew works for you, Boone. Kid came home last month talking about the woman doctor who set his collarbone. Said it healed better than his pa's leg ever did after the town doc worked on it." He paused. "That true?" "Every word," Silas confirmed. "Then I'm in. Whatever you need." Mercer settled into a chair. "But tell me what we're really fighting here. Because this isn't just about one woman practicing medicine, is it?" Silas looked at Eliza. She took a breath and told the truth. "Dr. Hammond assaulted me in Boston. When I fought back, he destroyed my career and accused me of everything he'd actually done. Now he's tracked me here and he wants to finish what he started." Her voice stayed steady. "He wants to prove that women who resist powerful men don't get second chances. They get erased." Mercer's expression hardened. "My daughter wanted to study law. Every university turned her down, said women's brains weren't suited for complex reasoning." He leaned forward. "How many witnesses you got?" "Everyone on this ranch who she treated. Maybe 30 people. Not enough. You need respectable witnesses, business owners, community leaders, people the judge can't dismiss as loyal employees." Mercer stood. "I'll talk to Catherine Hayes. She runs the largest boarding house in the territory. Smart woman, respected. And she's delivered more babies than any doctor. If she testifies about women's medicine, Morrison will listen." Why would she help me? Eliza asked. Because she spent 40 years watching women die from things male doctors couldn't be bothered to understand. You give her a platform to say that in court she'll take it. Mercer headed for the door. I'll have her here tomorrow, and I'll bring Thomas Crawford too. He owns the lumber mill. Lost his wife to childbed fever because the doctor was too drunk to come. He's got opinions about who should practice medicine. After he left, Marcus shook his head in wonder. Mercer doesn't help people. He just doesn't. What did you say to convince him? The truth, Eliza said quietly. Just the truth. By the next afternoon, 7 ranch owners had gathered. Catherine Hayes arrived with them, a formidable woman in her 60s with silver hair and eyes that had seen everything twice. She looked Eliza up and down. You're younger than I expected. Is that a problem? Depends. You any good? I'm alive. So are the people I've treated. Catherine's mouth twitched. Might have been a smile. Fair answer. Tell me about the worst case you ever handled. Eliza described Paulson. The stabbing. The infection. The decision to reopen the wound. Catherine listened without interrupting, and when Eliza finished, she nodded once. You made the right call. Most doctors would have let him die rather than admit they needed to try again. She turned to Silas. I'll testify. But I need something in return. Name it. After this is done, win or lose, I want to train women in frontier medicine. Real training. Not just herbs and prayers. Actual medical knowledge. Her gaze shifted back to Eliza. And I want her to help me teach it. The request hit Eliza like a physical blow. I might not be here after this. If we lose, then we make sure we don't lose. Catherine's voice was iron. I've spent my whole life watching women die from ignorance and neglect, watching male doctors refuse to touch them because it's improper while they bleed out. If you can change that even a little, it's worth the fight. Thomas Crawford stepped forward. Quiet man. Grief etched into every line of his face. My wife died screaming. Doctor said her pain was normal, said women exaggerate childbirth, told me to wait in the other room while she suffered. His hands clenched. She died alone because he thought her agony was theater. I'll testify to that. I'll make sure that judge understands what happens when the wrong people hold all the power. One by one, they committed. Not just to testify, to fight. Eliza felt the weight of their expectation, and their hope, and their anger. It was almost too much to carry. Almost. The next 3 days were chaos. Preparing testimony, gathering evidence, documenting every case Eliza had treated. Marcus compiled a list with dates, injuries, outcomes. The evidence was overwhelming, but Hammond wasn't sitting idle. The newspaper arrived on Tuesday. Front page headline, Unlicensed Woman Endangers Lives with Fraudulent Medical Practice. The article was vicious. It claimed Eliza had fled Boston after killing a patient through incompetence. That she'd seduced her way into a position she wasn't qualified for. That she was now preying on desperate frontier families who didn't know better. Every word was a lie wrapped in enough truth to make it believable. Ruth found Eliza burning the paper in her stove. Don't let it get to you. How can I not? He's poisoning everything before we even get to court. He's scared. That's what this is. Scared men lash out. Ruth pulled the paper from the flames. But look at the bottom. See that? A small editorial, written by someone named Elizabeth Morrison. It said, before we rush to condemn Miss Rowan, perhaps we should ask the families she's helped. Perhaps we should question why a doctor in Boston cares so much about stopping one woman's work hundreds of miles away. Perhaps we should wonder what he's really afraid of. Morrison, Eliza said. Any relation to the judge? Ruth smiled. His daughter. And she's got her father's sense of justice. Hammond just made a mistake printing lies where she could read them. But Hammond's next move was worse. Thursday morning, a woman appeared at the ranch, young, maybe 25, dressed in city clothes and carrying an expensive bag. She asked for Eliza by name. I'm Sarah Mitchell, she said when they met. Dr. Hammond sent me. Eliza's stomach tightened. To threaten me. To offer you a deal. Sarah pulled out a document. Hammond will drop all charges. He'll publicly state that you're a competent medical assistant. He'll leave reference for positions back east. She paused. All you have to do is leave the territory, never practice medicine again, and sign a statement saying the assault never happened. The words hung in the air like poison. And if I refuse? Sarah's expression was sympathetic, but firm. Then he'll destroy you. He's got witnesses prepared to testify you killed a patient in Boston. He's got forged documents showing you were dismissed for theft. He's got a physician ready to examine your work here and declare it dangerously incompetent. She hesitated. He'll win, Miss Rowan. He always wins. This is your chance to walk away with something. My dignity. Eliza's voice was cold. My integrity? Or just my life? All of it. Take the deal. Start over somewhere quiet. It's better than what's coming. Eliza looked at this woman, probably Hammond's mistress or protege or both, and saw herself 3 months ago. Desperate. Defeated. Willing to accept crumbs rather than fight for the whole meal. Tell Hammond no. Sarah blinked. You're refusing? I'm refusing. Tell him to bring his witnesses and his forged documents and his bought physicians. Tell him I'll see him in court. Eliza stepped closer. And tell him that this time the woman he attacked is going to fight back, with everything she has, and she's not alone anymore. Sarah left looking shaken. Silas appeared from the barn where he'd been watching. You could have taken the deal? He said. Could have. Didn't want to. Why not? Eliza thought about Catherine Hayes, about Thomas Crawford, about Mercer's daughter and Ruth's quiet faith, and every woman who'd never gotten to fight back. Because some things are worth more than safety, she said. Silas's expression shifted into something intense and unreadable. You're either very brave or very foolish. Can't it be both? He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised them both. Come on, we've got work to do. The night before the hearing, Eliza couldn't sleep. She went to check on the horses, found Silas already there brushing down his stallion with methodical strokes. Nervous? He asked without turning. Terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He set down the brush. My sister, the one I told you about, she wasn't scared enough at the end. Thought she could reason with people who'd already decided she was lying. Walked into that courtroom believing truth would be enough. Was it? No. The word was flat, final. They destroyed her anyway, and I stood there and let it happen because I believed in the system, believed justice would prevail. He turned to face Eliza. I won't make that mistake twice. What are you saying? I'm saying that if things go wrong tomorrow, if the judge rules against you despite the evidence, we don't just accept it. We fight, however we have to. The implication was clear and dangerous. Silas, you can't protect someone who matters, can't stand up to corruption, can't risk everything for what's right. He moved closer. Watch me. Eliza's breath caught. The space between them felt electric, charged with everything unsaid. You matter, she whispered. This ranch matters. You can't sacrifice it for what? For you. His hand came up, brushed her cheek. Eliza, you walked into my life half frozen and completely broken, and in 6 weeks you've saved more lives than I can count. You've proven yourself over and over. You've fought when anyone else would have quit. His voice dropped. You think I'm going to let Hammond take that away? Take you away. This isn't your fight. The hell it isn't. His thumb traced her jaw. It became my fight the moment I decided you were worth saving. And you are. God help me, you are. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate and fierce, and full of everything they'd both been holding back. Eliza kissed him back with equal intensity, poured every ounce of fear and hope and need into it. This man who'd seen her at her lowest and chosen to believe anyway. This man who was willing to burn his whole world down to protect hers. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Silas rested his forehead against hers. "Tomorrow," he said, "we fight together." "Together," she agreed. The courtroom was packed. Eliza had expected spectators, but not this. Every seat filled. People standing along the walls. Hammond had wanted a spectacle, he'd gotten one. Judge Morrison entered. Older man, white-haired, with eyes that suggested he'd seen every trick and lie the law could produce. His daughter's editorial had apparently hit home. He looked at Hammond with something close to distaste. "This court is now in session. Dr. Hammond, you've brought charges of illegal medical practice and fraud against Miss Eliza Rowan. Present your case." Hammond stood. He looked exactly as Eliza remembered, distinguished, confident, utterly certain of his power. He smiled at her. Cold. Calculated. "Your Honor, the facts are simple. Miss Rowan practiced medicine in Boston under my supervision until she was dismissed for gross incompetence, resulting in patient death. She then fled to this territory and continued practicing without license or authority. She has endangered lives through her ignorance and arrogance. You have proof of this patient death." Hammond's lawyer produced documents. Death certificate, hospital records, all carefully forged. Eliza's heart sank. The documents looked official, legitimate. How could she fight paper trails that didn't exist but appeared real? But then Morrison did something unexpected. He examined the documents closely. Too closely. "These records are dated March 15th, but this death certificate shows a county seal that wasn't adopted until April." He looked up. "Care to explain that discrepancy, Dr. Hammond?" Hammond faltered, just for a second. But it was enough. "A clerical error, Your Honor. The substance remains. The substance remains that you've presented falsified documents to this court." Morrison's voice was ice. "Strike these from the record. Do you have any legitimate evidence?" Hammond's composure cracked slightly. "I have witness testimony. Dr. Gerald Pierce will testify to Miss Rowan's incompetence." Pierce took the stand. Pompous man. Self-important. He claimed to have reviewed Eliza's work and found it dangerously inadequate. "Can you provide specific examples?" Morrison asked. "Her technique is sloppy, her knowledge insufficient. She's a danger to anyone who trusts her." "Specific examples, Doctor, not general accusations." Pierce fumbled. "Well, I didn't personally observe." "So you're testifying to incompetence you never witnessed based on work you never examined?" Dr. Hammond assured me. "Dr. Hammond isn't under oath. You are." Morrison leaned forward. "Do you have any first-hand knowledge of Miss Rowan's medical practice?" "No, but—" "Then step down. You're wasting the court's time." Hammond's face flushed red. He tried to recover, called another witness, but Morrison shut that down too. The carefully constructed case was collapsing. Then it was Eliza's turn. Silas's lawyer, a sharp woman named Harriet Chen, who'd arrived from Denver 2 days ago, stood. "Your Honor, we'd like to present testimony from individuals Miss Rowan has treated, people whose lives she saved or improved through competent, skilled medical care." "Proceed." Tom Fletcher testified about his arm. Paulson about the stabbing and infection. One by one they told their stories. Clear, detailed, undeniable. Then Catherine Hayes took the stand. "I've been practicing frontier medicine for 40 years, she said. "I've delivered 600 babies, set 200 broken bones, treated everything from snake bite to cholera. And in all that time, I've never seen anyone, man or woman, licensed or not work with more skill and dedication than Eliza Rowan." "You're not a licensed physician either, Mrs. Hayes," Hammond's lawyer interjected. "No, I'm something better. I'm someone who shows up, who doesn't turn patients away because they're poor or female or inconvenient, who doesn't let people die while I wait for proper credentials." Catherine's eyes blazed. "You want to talk about fraud? Talk about the licensed doctors who are too drunk or too expensive or too prejudiced to help. Talk about the men who let women die rather than examine them properly. That's the real fraud. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Morrison gavelled for silence. Thomas Crawford testified next. Told the story of his wife's death. Made half the courtroom weep. Then Mercer. Then other ranch owners. Then a school teacher who'd brought her feverish daughter to Eliza when the town doctor refused to make a house call. The evidence was overwhelming, but Hammond wasn't finished, and wasn't. "Your Honor," he said, standing again. "Regardless of Miss Rowan's recent work, the fact remains she practiced medicine without license. The law is clear. She must be stopped." Morrison looked at him for a long moment. "The law is also clear that medical practice is defined by state statute, not federal. And territorial law makes exceptions for emergency medical care in remote areas where licensed physicians are unavailable." He shuffled papers. "How many licensed physicians practice within 40 miles of Mr. Boone's ranch?" Silence. "How many, Dr. Hammond?" I don't know the exact." "None. The answer is none." Morrison looked at Eliza. "Miss Rowan, stand." She stood heart-pounding. "You've practiced medicine without formal license. That's indisputable. But you've also saved lives in circumstances where no licensed help was available. You've demonstrated skill and knowledge. And you've shown more integrity than some licensed physicians in this courtroom." He paused. "I'm issuing a provisional medical license valid within this territory. You'll practice under supervision of Mrs. Hayes until you complete formal licensing requirements. You'll submit monthly reports. And you'll train other women who wish to learn frontier medicine." Eliza's knees nearly buckled. "Furthermore," Morrison continued, "I'm referring Dr. Hammond to the Massachusetts Medical Board for investigation of falsified documents and potential misconduct. This court is adjourned." The gavel fell. Hammond's face went white, then red, then purple with rage. "This isn't over," he hissed at Eliza as he pushed past. "You think you've won. You've won nothing. I'll destroy you. I'll destroy everyone who helped you. Silas's hand clamped on Hammond's shoulder. "You'll leave. Now. Before I forget we're in a courthouse." Something in Silas's voice made Hammond step back. He left trailing fury and threats. Eliza stood surrounded by people congratulating her, thanking her, celebrating. But she felt numb. Disconnected. Like it couldn't possibly be real. Catherine grabbed her arm. "Breathe, girl. You did it." "We did it," Eliza corrected. "All of us." Outside the courthouse, Silas found her sitting on the steps, finally letting herself feel everything. "You're crying," he said quietly. "I know." She wiped her face. "I didn't think I never thought I'd get to do this again. Practice medicine. Help people. Be myself." He sat beside her. "You were always yourself. Hammond just tried to convince you otherwise. He almost succeeded, but he didn't." Silas took her hand. "You fought. You won. And now you get to build something better than what they took from you." Eliza looked at him. This man who'd pulled her from that frozen station, who'd given her purpose when she'd lost everything, who'd stood beside her when the whole world seemed determined to prove she didn't deserve to stand at all. "I couldn't have done this without you," she whispered. "Yes, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to." He stood, pulled her up with him. "Come on. Ruth's planning a celebration. Half the territory's going to be at the ranch tonight. You should probably be there." Silas. He waited. "Thank you. For everything. For seeing me when no one else would." His expression softened. "Eliza, I didn't just see you. I saw what you could become if someone gave you the chance." He smiled. "Turns out I was right." They walked back toward the wagon hand in hand, and for the first time in months, Eliza felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. Real hope. The kind that didn't apologize for taking up space. The kind worth fighting for. The celebration lasted until dawn, but Eliza barely remembered it. Too many faces, too many hands to shake, too many people wanting to tell her what the victory meant to them. What she did remember was Silas's hand on her back, steady and sure, guiding her through the crowd when it got overwhelming. Ruth pressing a plate of food into her hands with strict orders to eat. Catherine Hayes pulling her aside with plans already forming for the medical training program. "We start in 2 weeks," Catherine said. "I've got 8 women lined up already. Ranchers' wives, daughters, women who've been stitching wounds and delivering babies with nothing but guesswork and prayer." She gripped Eliza's arm. "You're going to teach them to do it right." "I don't know if I'm qualified to teach." "You just won a court case against one of the most powerful doctors in the country. You're qualified." Catherine's eyes were fierce. "Besides, teaching isn't about knowing everything. It's about showing people they can learn what they need to survive." The responsibility settled on Eliza's shoulders like a weight, but this time it didn't crush her. It anchored her. 2 weeks, she agreed. But Hammond wasn't done. The first sign came 3 days later. A telegram delivered to the ranch. Silas opened it, face darkening as he read. "What is it?" Eliza asked. He handed it to her. The message was short. "Congratulations on your hollow victory. Enjoy it while it lasts. Some battles are won in courtrooms. Others are won in the dark. C.H." Eliza's blood went cold. "He's threatening. He's posturing, trying to scare you." But Silas's voice was tight. "Marcus, double the night watch, and tell the men to report anything unusual, anyone they don't recognize." "You think he'll actually try something?" Marcus asked. "I think a man who falsifies documents and threatens witnesses isn't going to accept defeat quietly." Silas looked at Eliza. "Stay close to the main house until we know what we're dealing with." She wanted to argue, wanted to say she wouldn't let Hammond control her life anymore, but the look in Silas's eyes stopped her. "All right," she said. That night she woke to smoke. Not much, just a whisper of it curling under her door, but enough to make her bolt upright, heart racing. She threw open the door. The barn was burning. Flames already climbing the walls, horses screaming inside. "Fire!" she screamed. "The barn's on fire!" Men poured out of the bunkhouse. Silas appeared from the main house already running. Eliza ran too toward the barn, where animals were trapped and dying. "Get water," Silas shouted. "Form a line." Marcus and Tom were already working the doors, trying to get them open. The wood was hot, smoking. The latch wouldn't budge. "It's jammed from the outside," Tom gasped. "Someone locked them in." Silas grabbed an axe, swung at the door. Wood splintered. He swung again, again. The door burst open and horses thundered out, wild with terror. Eliza counted them. 10, 12, 14. They had 16 horses. "There's still 2 inside," she shouted. Silas started toward the burning entrance. Eliza grabbed his arm. "You can't. Those are my horses." He pulled free and ran inside. The barn was an inferno. Smoke so thick she couldn't see. Heat that stole the air from her lungs. She heard a hoarse scream and Silas's voice calling to it, calming it. Then a beam fell. The crash shook the ground. Eliza's heart stopped. "Silas!" No answer. She didn't think. Just ran inside. The smoke was blinding. She dropped low, crawled forward, hand over her mouth. Found him pinned under burning timber, trying to push it off while holding the reins of a terrified mare. "Get out," he choked. "Not without you." She grabbed the beam, felt her hands blister from the heat. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. They heaved together. The beam shifted. Silas rolled free, pulled the mare with him. They stumbled toward the door as another section of roof collapsed behind them. They made it out seconds before the whole structure came down. Eliza collapsed on the ground, coughing hands, screaming with pain. Silas was beside her, breathing hard, face blackened with soot. "You're an idiot," he gasped. "You're welcome." Men were forming water lines, trying to save what they could, but the barn was lost. They focused on keeping the fire from spreading to the bunkhouse and main house. It took 2 hours to get it under control. By then, the barn was nothing but smoking ruins. Marcus approached, face grim. "Found this." He held up a can of kerosene and a piece of cloth. "Someone set this fire deliberately." Eliza said. "We don't know that for certain." "Who else?" Her voice was raw from smoke and fury. "He sent the telegram. This is his answer." Silas stood slowly. His hands were burned. His shirt was ruined, but his eyes were clear and cold. "Marcus, ride to town. Get the marshal. Tell him what happened. And if Hammond's already gone, then we find him." Silas looked at the destroyed barn. One way or another. But Hammond was gone. Left the territory the morning after the fire. The marshal sent word 3 days later, no evidence directly linking him to the arson, no witnesses, nothing that would stand up in court. "So he just gets away with it?" Eliza asked. Marshal Crenshaw looked uncomfortable. "Unless someone saw him set the fire or heard him order it done, there's nothing I can charge him with. I'm sorry, Miss Rowan." After he left, Eliza sat in her cabin, staring at her bandaged hands. The burns would heal. The barn could be rebuilt. But the message was clear. Hammond could hurt her any time he wanted, could hurt the people she cared about, and the law couldn't stop him. Ruth found her there an hour later. "Feeling sorry for yourself?" Ruth asked. "Feeling like maybe I should have taken his deal, left the territory, kept everyone safe." "Safe from what?" "From living." Ruth sat down. "That barn's been standing 40 years. We'll build a new one, better one. The horses are fine. Nobody died. You won." "It doesn't feel like winning." "Winning never does. Not at first." Ruth's voice softened. "My husband died building this ranch, kicked by a horse, broke his neck. I could have left, gone back east, been safe. But I stayed because this place mattered. The work mattered. The people mattered." She looked at Eliza. "Hammond burned a barn. You built a future. Which one matters more?" Before Eliza could answer, someone knocked. It was a woman she didn't recognize, young, maybe 30, with a baby on her hip and desperation in her eyes. "Are you Miss Rowan, the doctor?" "I'm a medical practitioner, yes." "My daughter's sick. Fever for 3 days. Won't eat. Can't keep water down." The woman's voice broke. "Please, the town doctor won't come. Says we can't pay." Eliza stood immediately. "Show me." The child was badly dehydrated, fever burning. Eliza worked quickly. Cool cloths, small sips of water, checking for signs of serious infection. The mother watched with terrified hope. "What's her name?" Eliza asked. "Sarah. She's 2 years old." "Sarah's going to be fine. It's scarlet fever, but a mild case. The fever will break in another day or so. But you need to keep giving her water, small amounts, frequently." Eliza mixed a solution. "This will help with the fever. 1 spoonful every 4 hours." The mother took it with shaking hands. "How much do I owe you?" Eliza thought about the cash Silas had paid her, about the provisional license that let her work, about Hammond's attempt to destroy her, and how completely he'd failed. "You owe me nothing," she said. "Just bring her back in 3 days so I can make sure she's healing properly." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "God bless you." After they left, Silas appeared in the doorway. "Heard you had a patient." "Word travels fast." "This is a ranch. Everything travels fast." He came inside, sat down. "Your hands hurt." Eliza looked at the bandages. "They're fine." "Liar." He reached out, gently examined the wrappings. "Ruth says you need to change these twice daily. Says if you don't, they'll get infected, and you'll lose your ability to work." "Ruth worries too much." "Ruth's usually right." He met her eyes. "Let me help." She let him unwrap the bandages. The burns were healing but still raw. He cleaned them carefully, applied fresh salve, rewrapped them with steady hands. "You saved my life in that barn," he said quietly. "You saved mine in that train station. We're even." That's not how this works. He finished the bandage, didn't let go of her hand. Eliza, I need to tell you something. Her heart stuttered. What? When that beam fell and I thought... He stopped, collected himself. I've been alone a long time. Told myself it was easier, safer. No one to lose. No one to fail. His thumb traced her palm. And then you showed up half frozen and completely stubborn, and you made me remember what it feels like to want something more than just survival. Silas, let me finish. His eyes were intense. I'm not good at this, at talking about feelings or making promises. But I'm good at standing beside people I believe in. And I believe in you, not just as a doctor, as a person, as someone worth... He struggled for words. Worth fighting for, Eliza whispered. Worth everything. He lifted her bandaged hand, kissed it gently. So, if you're asking whether I regret bringing you here, whether I regret fighting Hammond, whether I regret any of it, the answer is no. I'd do it all again, without hesitation. Eliza felt tears threaten. I don't know how to do this either. Trust someone. Let someone close. Every time I've tried, it's ended in betrayal or pain or maybe this time it doesn't. He moved closer. Maybe this time you get to be happy, safe, loved. The word hung between them. Loved, she asked. Loved. He said it like a promise, like a fact. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a few months, but out here time moves different. You learn who people are when survival's on the line. And I know who you are, Eliza Rowan. You're the woman who refused to quit when the world told her to. Who saved lives because it was right, not because it was safe. Who walked into fire to save someone she... He stopped. Someone I love, Eliza finished. The admission terrified and freed her simultaneously. Yes, I love you. I don't know when it happened or how, but it did. And it's real. And it's mine. And for once I'm not apologizing for wanting something good. He kissed her, slow and deep and full of everything words couldn't capture. When they pulled apart, both were shaking. So what now? Eliza asked. Now we build something better than what they tried to destroy. Silas stood, pulled her up with him. Starting with that medical training program. Catherine's been talking about it nonstop. Says she's got 12 women lined up now. 12... Eliza's voice was faint. Apparently word spreading. Women from 3 territories over heard about the court case, about what you're doing. They want to learn. He smiled. You started something, Eliza. Something bigger than either of us expected. Atedi. The training program started 2 weeks later. 12 women ranging from 19 to 60. Ranchers' wives. Homesteaders. Women who'd spent years practicing medicine in secret because the law said they couldn't, and necessity said they must. Catherine ran the sessions with military precision. Anatomy, technique, emergency procedures. Eliza taught alongside her, sharing everything she'd learned. But on the 3rd day, one of the students, a quiet woman named Margaret, pulled Eliza aside. There's something you should know, Margaret said. My husband heard talk in town. Dr. Pierce, the one who testified for Hammond, he's been telling people your license isn't real, that Judge Morrison was bribed, that everything you're teaching is fraudulent. Eliza's stomach dropped. Pierce is still here. He set up practice in town last week. Says he's going to provide legitimate medical care to counter your dangerous incompetence. Margaret hesitated. He's telling pregnant women not to come to you, telling families you'll kill their children. He's destroying your reputation before you've even properly started. That night, Eliza rode into town. Found Pierce's office, easily new sign, expensive furnishings, everything designed to project authority and legitimacy. She walked in without knocking. Pierce looked up from his desk, startled, then smug. Miss Rowan, to what do I owe this unexpected visit? You're spreading lies about me. I'm spreading truth. You're unlicensed, untrained, a danger to anyone who trusts you. Judge Morrison issued me a provisional license. You were in the courtroom when he did it. A territorial judge bending rules doesn't make you a real doctor. Pierce leaned back. Face facts, Miss Rowan. You're a novelty, a curiosity. People are interested now because you're different. But when someone dies under your care, and they'll remember that you were never meant to do this work. Is that what Hammond's paying you to say? Pierce hiccupped. Dr. Hammond has nothing to do with... Don't lie. You testified for him, failed spectacularly, and now you're here doing his dirty work because he can't do it himself anymore. Eliza stepped closer. How much is he paying you to destroy me? You're paranoid. I'm right, and you know it. She pulled out the medical journal she'd brought Pierce's name on several articles. I read your work. You're actually a competent physician, respected, published. So why are you wasting time attacking me instead of practicing medicine? For a moment, something human crossed Pierce's face. Shame, maybe. Or regret. Because Hammond ruined me too, he said quietly. 3 years ago. I questioned his treatment of a patient, made it public. He got me barred from every major hospital in the East. His voice was bitter. So yes, I work for him now, because I have no choice, because he owns me. Eliza stared at him. Then break free. Stop letting him control you. Easy for you to say, you won. I lost. He turned away. Get out of my office. She left, but the conversation haunted her. Pierce was another casualty of Hammond's cruelty. Another person whose career had been destroyed for defying him. How many were there? How many people had Hammond broken over the years? The answer came sooner than expected. A week later, a woman arrived at the ranch. Older, distinguished, carrying herself with the bearing of someone used to authority. She asked for Eliza by name. I'm Dr. Helen Morrison, she said. Judge Morrison's sister. I practice in San Francisco. Eliza's heart raced. Did your brother send you? In a manner of speaking. He mentioned your case, said you'd fought Hammond and won. Helen's eyes were sharp. I've been fighting Hammond for 20 years. He got me dismissed from Massachusetts General, destroyed my first practice, made sure no hospital would hire me, all because I reported his assault of a nurse. The words hit like a fist. You fought him. Fought and lost. This was before women had any legal standing, before anyone cared what happened to us. Helen's voice was steady, but the pain underneath was ancient. But I survived, built a new practice, helped other women do the same. And now I want to help you. How? By connecting you to a network. 40 women physicians across the West, all of us practicing despite the barriers, all of us helping each other survive. She pulled out papers. We share knowledge, resources, legal support, and we document men like Hammond so their crimes don't stay hidden. Eliza took the papers with shaking hands. Names, addresses, stories, proof that she wasn't alone. Had never been alone. Why show me this? Because you won something we never could. A court case, public vindication, legal recognition. Helen smiled. You're proof that things are changing, and we want to make sure that change keeps happening. That night, Eliza showed the papers to Silas. He read them in silence, then looked at her with something like awe. You're not just teaching women in this territory, he said. You're part of something national. I'm part of something that shouldn't have to exist. Women shouldn't need underground networks just to practice medicine. But until the world catches up, you do, and you're building it. He set the papers down. Eliza, do you understand what you've started here? A training program, a movement. Women from 3 territories coming to learn. Physicians like Dr. Morrison reaching out. Men like Thomas Crawford fighting alongside you. His hand cupped her face. You didn't just win a court case. You proved that the system can change, that fighting back works. Hammond's still out there. Pierce is still spreading lies. Everything's changed. You just can't see it yet because you're in the middle of it. Silas pulled her close. But I can see it. Everyone here can see it. You've given people hope, real hope. The kind that doesn't quit. Eliza buried her face in his chest, let herself finally believe it might be true. 2 days later, Pierce appeared at the ranch, alone, looking haggard. "I'm leaving the territory," he said without preamble. "Going back east. But before I go, you should know Hammond's planning something. I don't know what, but he mentioned your name, said this wasn't over, said you'd pay for embarrassing him." "Why tell me this?" Pierce met her eyes. "Because you were right. I am a good physician. I used to help people. And somewhere along the way, I let Hammond turn me into something I hate." He handed her an envelope. "This is everything I know about his plans. Contacts he's made, people he's paying. It's not much, but maybe it helps." He left before Eliza could respond. She opened the envelope, read the contents, and her blood ran cold. Hammond had hired investigators, was building a new case, not against her medical practice, this time against Silas. Claiming the ranch was built on fraudulent land claims, that Silas had stolen the property, that everything should be seized and sold. If Hammond couldn't destroy her directly, he'd destroy everything she'd built, everyone she cared about. Eliza ran to find Silas, heart pounding. Found him in the new barn they were building to replace the one that had burned. "We need to talk," she said. "Now." She showed him Pierce's information, watched his face go hard. "Is it true?" she asked. "The land claims, are they legitimate?" "They're legitimate. I've got all the documentation, surveys, deeds, everything." But his voice was tight. "But Hammond doesn't need truth, just doubt. If he can tie this up in court long enough, he can bleed us dry with legal fees, force us to sell." "So what do we do?" Silas looked at her, really looked. "We fight. Again. Together. However long it takes." Eliza thought about running. About how easy it would be to just disappear again. To protect Silas by leaving. But then she thought about the 12 women learning medicine in her classroom. About Catherine's fierce determination. About Ruth's steady faith. About Silas's hand in hers. About belonging. Real belonging. The kind worth defending. "Then let's fight," she said, and meant it with everything she had. Hammond's legal papers arrived the next morning. 23 pages of accusations claiming Silas had forged land deeds, bribed surveyors, and stolen property that rightfully belonged to the territorial government. Harriet Chen read through them with increasing disbelief. "This is insane. He's manufactured an entire case out of nothing." "Can we fight it?" Silas asked. "We can. But it'll take months, maybe years, and every day in court costs money we need for the ranch." She looked up. "He's not trying to win. He's trying to bleed you dry." Eliza paced the room, mind racing. There has to be something, some way to stop him before it gets that far. Unless you can prove malicious prosecution, he can drag this out as long as he wants. Malicious prosecution. The words echoed in Eliza's mind. Then she remembered Pierce's envelope, the contacts Hammond had made, the people he'd paid. "What if we can prove he's fabricating evidence?" she asked. "What if we can show the court he's doing this purely for revenge?" Harriet leaned forward. "That would change everything, but you'd need solid proof. Witnesses, documentation." Eliza grabbed the envelope, spread the contents across the table. "Pierce gave us names. People Hammond paid to lie. What if we track them down? Get them to testify. They won't talk. Hammond owns them. Maybe. Or maybe they're like Pierce, tired of being owned. Tired of destroying people for someone else's vendetta." Eliza looked at Silas. "It's worth trying." He nodded slowly. "Then we try." The first name on the list was a surveyor in Denver named Thomas Webb. Eliza and Silas rode there together, leaving Marcus to run the ranch and Catherine to continue the medical training. Webb's office was small, cluttered with maps and instruments. The man himself looked exhausted, mid-40s, graying with the haunted expression of someone carrying too many secrets. "Mr. Webb?" Eliza asked. He looked up, froze when he saw them. You're Silas Boone. I am. And you're the man Hammond paid to falsify my land surveys. Webb's face went pale. I don't know what you're... Stop. Silas's voice was quiet, but absolute. We're not here to threaten you. We're here to offer you a way out. Out of what? Out of Hammond's control, out of the lies, out of whatever deal you made that's eating you alive. Eliza stepped forward. We know he paid you. We know what he asked you to do. What we want to know is, are you still willing to do it? Webb looked between them, conflicted. Hammond said if I didn't help him, he'd expose me, ruin me. I've got a family, a business. I can't... What did he threaten to expose? Eliza asked gently. Silence. Then, I made a mistake. Years ago. Filed a survey wrong. Cost a family their homestead claim. I've lived with that guilt every day since. His voice broke. Hammond found out. Said he'd make sure everyone knew unless I helped him destroy you. So you're willing to destroy someone else to protect yourself from your own mistake? Silas's words were harsh, but his tone wasn't. That how you want to live? Webb's hands shook. I don't know what else to do. You tell the truth, Eliza said. You testify that Hammond coerced you. You help us stop him from doing to others what he's done to you. He'll destroy me. Roy, he's already destroying you. This is just a slower death. Silas leaned against the desk. But if you stand with us, if you testify, we'll stand with you. Help you make things right with that family you wronged. Support you through whatever comes next. Webb stared at them. Why would you help me? I was going to lie about you. Because Hammond's built his power on people's fear and guilt. On making them complicit in his crimes so they can't escape. Eliza's voice was steady. Someone has to break that cycle. Might as well be us. For a long moment Webb said nothing. Then he opened a drawer, pulled out a folder. These are the real surveys, the accurate ones. They prove your land claims are completely legitimate. Hammond wanted me to substitute them with false documents showing boundary disputes. He handed the folder to Silas. I couldn't do it. Kept telling him I would, but I couldn't actually go through with it. Silas took the folder, emotion flickering across his face. Why not? Because my mistake destroyed one family. I wasn't going to destroy another. Webb sat down heavily. I'll testify. Tell the court everything. Let the consequences fall where they will. Armed with Webb's testimony and the authentic surveys, they returned to the territory. Harriet immediately filed a motion to dismiss Hammond's case, citing fraudulent evidence and malicious prosecution. The hearing was scheduled for the following week, but Hammond wasn't finished. 2 days before the hearing, Eliza received a letter. Personal this time. Handwritten. You've taken everything from me. My reputation, my standing, my future. But you haven't won. You'll never win. Because I'll make sure that every day of your life you're looking over your shoulder, wondering when I'll strike next, wondering who I'll hurt to get to you. That's the price of defying me. Not death. Endless fear. You should have stayed frozen in that train station. Her hands trembled holding the letter. Not from fear anymore. From rage. He's right about one thing, she said to Silas. This won't end, not unless we end it permanently. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Hammond's power comes from secrecy, from operating in the shadows where no one can see what he's doing. She looked at the letter. So we bring him into the light. All of it. Every crime, every victim, every lie. We make it public. How? Eliza thought about Dr. Helen Morrison, about the network of 40 women physicians, about the documented history of Hammond's abuses spanning 2 decades. We call every victim to testify, everyone he's ever hurt. We turn the hearing into a trial of Hammond himself. Silas smiled grimly. That's ambitious. It's necessary. Because you're right, this isn't just about us anymore. It's about making sure he can't do this to anyone else ever again. Harriet thought they were insane. You can't turn a land dispute hearing into a character assassination trial. The judge will shut it down immediately. Not if we argue that Hammond's history of malicious behavior is relevant to establishing his current motive, Eliza countered. We're not assassinating his character, we're demonstrating a pattern. It's risky. Everything we've done has been risky. Silas looked at Harriet. Can you make it work legally? She thought for a long moment. Maybe, if I frame it right, if the judge allows it. She paused. But you'll need those victims willing to testify, to expose themselves publicly. Leave that to me, Eliza said. She sent telegrams to Dr. Morrison, to the network of women physicians, asked who would be willing to come forward, to tell their stories, to help end Hammond's reign of destruction. The responses came back faster than expected. 15 women, 4 men, all willing to travel, all ready to testify. They're coming, Eliza told Silas, voice thick with emotion. All of them. The hearing was chaos from the start. The courtroom was packed beyond capacity. Judge Morrison, having heard about the scope of testimony, had moved proceedings to the town hall to accommodate the crowd. Hammond sat with his lawyers looking confident, smug, like he'd already won. But when the first witness took the stand, a physician from Philadelphia who testified about Hammond's assault and subsequent blackmail, his expression began to change. The second witness was a nurse from Massachusetts General. She described years of harassment, of threats, of watching Hammond destroy anyone who challenged him. The third was Thomas Webb, who outlined the coercion and fraudulent documents with painful detail. One by one they testified, stories spanning 20 years, a pattern so clear, so undeniable that even Hammond's lawyers had no defense. Dr. Helen Morrison took the stand last. She looked directly at Hammond as she spoke. Cornelius Hammond is a predator who has used his position to assault, harass, and destroy countless medical professionals, particularly women. He has fabricated evidence, bribed officials, and manipulated legal systems to protect himself and punish his victims. Her voice was steel. Today that ends. Today we stop protecting his reputation at the cost of our own humanity. The courtroom erupted. Judge Morrison gavelled for silence. Hammond stood face purple with rage. This is a conspiracy. These people are lying. I've never... Sit down, Dr. Hammond, Morrison said coldly. You've heard the testimony. Multiple independent witnesses, documented evidence, a clear pattern of behavior. He looked at Harriet. Counsel, what are you asking this court to do? We're asking you to dismiss the land claim case as malicious prosecution. And we're asking you to refer Dr. Hammond to federal authorities for investigation of fraud, coercion, and abuse of legal process. Morrison didn't hesitate. Case dismissed. Dr. Hammond, you're hereby ordered to cease all legal action against Mr. Boone and Miss Rowan. Furthermore, I'm issuing a restraining order preventing any contact with either of them. And yes, I'm referring your actions to federal prosecutors. He paused. Marshal Crenshaw, please escort Dr. Hammond into custody, pending investigation. Hammond's face went from purple to white. You can't... I have rights. This is Justice Dr. Hammond. Something you should have faced years ago. Morrison's gavel fell. Court adjourned. Outside, people crowded around Eliza and Silas, thanking them, congratulating them. Several of the women who'd testified were crying with relief. Dr. Morrison approached, took Eliza's hands. You did it. You actually did it. We did it. All of us together. No, you started it. You fought when fighting seemed impossible. You gave the rest of us permission to do the same. Helen smiled through tears. Hammond's finished. His medical license will be revoked. His assets seized to pay damages. He'll spend the rest of his life trying to avoid prison. Eliza felt the weight of 20 years lift. Not just her own trauma, everyone's. Silas's arm came around her waist, steadying her. You all right? I'm better than all right. She looked at him. I'm free. Ugh. The celebration that night rivaled the one after the first trial. But this time, Eliza felt different. Lighter. No longer looking over her shoulder. No longer waiting for the next attack. Catherine found her on the porch watching the sunset. You should be inside. This party's for you. I needed air. Needed to think. About what? Eliza gestured to the ranch, the mountains beyond the vast territory stretching in every direction. About what happens now. We've defeated Hammond. The medical training program's established. The provisional license is secure. What comes next? Catherine smiled. Life. Real life. The kind where you get to build instead of just survive. She paused. Speaking of which, I've been talking to the territorial governor about making the medical training program official. State-funded, permanent. State-funded? Turns out there's significant political interest in expanding medical access, especially after our trial made national news. The governor thinks a formal women's medical training institute could be, what did he call it? Progressive and practical. Catherine's eyes twinkled. He wants you to run it. The offer was staggering. I don't know if I'm qualified to... Stop. You're qualified. You've proven it repeatedly. The question is, do you want it? Eliza thought about the 12 women in her current class, about the letters she'd received from women across 3 territories asking when the next session would start, about the difference this could make. I want it, she said. But I want Silas's input too. This affects both of us. Then talk to him. He's been looking for you anyway. Eliza found Silas in the barn checking on the new foals. He looked up when she entered, smiled that small smile that was just for her. Escaping the party, he asked. Needed to talk to you about something. She told him about Catherine's offer, about the governor's proposal, about the possibility of building something permanent. He listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. You're asking if I'm all right with you running a medical institute, he finally said. I'm asking if you're all right with me potentially being busier, having more responsibilities, less time for us. Silas set down the brush he'd been using, came to stand in front of her. Eliza, I didn't pull you out of that train station so you could make your life smaller. I did it so you could make it bigger. As big as it needs to be. He cupped her face. If you want to run a medical institute, run a medical institute. If you want to train 100 women, train them. If you want to change the whole damn system, change it. I'll be right here supporting you. But what about us? The ranch, your life. My life is better with you in it, however that looks. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Besides, you're not the only one who's been thinking about the future. What do you mean? He pulled out a small box, opened it to reveal a simple gold ring. I mean, I'd like you to marry me, build this life together. Officially. Eliza's breath caught. Silas, I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a few months, but I also know that I've never been more certain of anything. His voice was steady. Sure. You're the strongest person I've ever met. The bravest. The most stubborn. And I love you for all of it. So Eliza Rowan, will you marry me? Tears streamed down her face. Happy tears this time. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. He slid the ring on her finger, kissed her like the world was ending and beginning simultaneously. When they finally pulled apart, both were laughing and crying and holding each other tight. We're going to have an interesting life, Eliza said. That's what I'm counting on. They married 3 weeks later. Small ceremony. Just the ranch hands, Catherine Ruth Marcus, and the women from the medical training program. Judge Morrison officiated, looking pleased with himself. The medical institute opened 6 months after that. 20 women in the first official class, 30 in the second. By the end of the year, applications were coming from as far as California and Montana. Eliza taught 3 days a week, practiced medicine the other 4. Silas expanded the ranch, brought in partners, built something sustainable that didn't require his constant presence. They built a life together. Real partnership. Equal footing. 2 years after the trial, Dr. Hammond died in prison, awaiting sentencing. Eliza felt nothing when she heard. No triumph, no grief, just relief that he couldn't hurt anyone else. 5 years after that, the territorial legislature passed a law allowing women to practice medicine with the same rights and protections as men. Catherine cried when the news came. So did Eliza. 10 years later, the Medical Institute had trained over 300 women. Graduates practiced across the Western Territories, saving lives, building futures, proving that competence had no gender. Eliza stood before a new class on their first day, looking at eager, nervous faces, and saw herself reflected back. Women who'd been told they couldn't, shouldn't, wouldn't. "No one gets to tell you what you're worth," she said. "Not doctors, not judges, not powerful men who think they own the world." She paused, let the words sink in. "You prove your worth through action, through skill, through refusing to quit when quitting seems easier." She smiled. "And you're not alone in that fight. None of us are. We stand together. We lift each other. We change the system one stubborn act at a time." After class, she found Silas waiting outside with their daughter, 3 years old, wild-haired, already asking questions about everything. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Perfect. They're going to be extraordinary." Their daughter tugged on Eliza's skirt. "Mama, tell the story again, about the train station." Eliza picked her up. "Which part?" "The part where you were brave." "I wasn't brave then, sweetheart. I was scared." "But you fought anyway." "Yes, I fought anyway." Silas took her free hand, and they walked home together through the territory they'd helped transform. The ranch spread before them, solid and thriving. The Medical Institute visible on the hill. Everything they'd built from frozen desperation and stubborn hope. That night, Eliza sat at her desk writing notes for the next day's lecture. Silas came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her shoulders. "Still working. Almost done." She leaned back into him. "I was just thinking. Remember when I thought surviving was enough? When I thought just making it through each day was victory? I remember. I was wrong. Survival was never the goal. Living was. Really living. Building something that matters. Loving someone who sees you. Making the world different than you found it." She turned to look at him. "That's what victory looks like." He kissed her forehead. "Took you long enough to figure it out." She laughed. "Better late than never." Years later, decades later, when Eliza was old and her hands too arthritic to perform surgery anymore, she still taught. Still told the story of the frozen train station. Still reminded young women that their worth wasn't given by permission or validated by approval. It was claimed, defended, proven, built. And once built, it couldn't be destroyed. Not by powerful men, not by unjust laws, not by a system designed to break them. Because some things once fought for, once won, became unshakable truth, that competence mattered more than gender, that justice could prevail over power, that love could rebuild what cruelty destroyed, and that one woman's refusal to quit could change everything for the women who came after. Eliza Rowan had walked into a frozen train station ready to die, and walked out ready to fight, and that fight had rewritten, not just her life, but the future of medicine in the American West. And nothing, not time, not opposition, not death itself could erase what she and Silas and Catherine and hundreds of determined women had built together from courage and conviction and the absolute certainty that they deserved to exist exactly as they were.